I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to all to the Insight session and to welcome Zandra Wagner, who is the interfaith chaplain at the University of La Verne and a professor of religion, if I'm not mistaken, but she can add more to that. And there are 4 students who are with her this evening, and I trust that they will get a chance to introduce themselves to us as we move into that portion of the program. So Zandra, welcome, and thank you for being a part of District Conference with us.
It's great to be here, and thank you for the invitation. I want to say, so our presentation is really going to focus on this brand new building that we have that is housing some really great offices that have wonderful synergies. And we're going to talk some about that, and our students will share some of their experiences with the building and the programs and the purposes of this space. And I want to say to the students that I know you don't know this group of people, but they are kind of the university's spiritual heritage. And because of that, this building and the university generally holds a great deal of meaning. And it's so nice to be able to, in this moment, bring both of those elements together, our current students with people who have loved the university for many, many, many years. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start with a PowerPoint to just show some pictures so you can get a sense of this space and what's going on in there. And then we'll open it up for the students. They'll answer some questions like a student panel, and then there'll be time for people to ask questions at the end. And as I'm showing the PowerPoint, as the students are speaking, if there's anything that you want to ask, feel free to put it in the chat if you know how to use the chat function. But at the end, when there's Q&A, we'll allow people to unmute and ask questions if that's easier, okay? All right, so let me share screen. So what you're seeing here is this new building called the Ludwick Center for Spirituality, Cultural Understanding, and Community Engagement. And for those of you who know the university, this also means that there is no longer the La Verne Chapel that was there for many, many years. So this is just to the west of where the chapel used to be. So inside the building are these offices. So I just want to speak them out loud, and then we'll return to this at the end. So the Office of Religious and Spiritual Life, Multicultural Services, International Student Services, our university-wide diversity office, and then our Office of Civic and Community Engagement. And we are all located, do you see the brick? That's previously that was our Brandt Hall. That was a residence hall, which some of you may have actually lived in. That has been converted to what you're seeing now, and it's in that brick part where all of these offices exist. On the left side of the screen, where if you can see that there's these lights that are hanging down, that's a lobby that goes into a sacred space. And I'll show you pictures of that. And then you can see the beautiful windows along the top. That's a beautiful big space that students can just hang out in. It's quite beautiful. So this is inside the sacred space. It's in the round. And so if you look at the center picture, you can get a sense of it being round. It has a beautiful centerpiece on the ceiling. We call it the oculus. And then on the left-hand side, you're looking into the sacred space from the back, and it actually has a big window opened out to a back patio. So then when you look on the right side, you can see these big windows, which can be opened, that look out onto a beautiful infinity fountain. And it's very peaceful and beautiful back there. There again is just the back part of the circular space open. So in the front part, before you go into the sacred space, there's a lobby area. And I just wanted to point out, there's a number of things in the lobby that really tie us to our Church of the Brethren history, specifically around peacemaking. So as an example, this sculpture that's on the right-hand side, this was sculpted by a survivor of the Holocaust, and it's called Falling Leaves, and it's in memory of the 6 million who perished. But again, it's there as a way to inspire peacemaking. In another part of this lobby, there is a beautiful peace dove, and it's made out of the stained glass from the old chapel. And it is a clear connection with our Church of the Brethren history and that peacemaking connection. This is the back infinity pond or fountain, and you'll notice there's an olive tree that's planted in the center, again, another symbol of peace. And there's olive trees in a number of places. In the back part, there are gardens and fountains. So this is one of the beautiful fountains. There's an area where you can sort of walk back on a path and go to a quiet space with a water feature. The statue that you see here, the artist named it Peace. Another one of the fountains. And this picture, which you can see another olive tree, you can see the statue Peace. I also want to point out these benches. All of these benches were made out of the beams in the old chapel. And many of those benches are named for people, many from the Church of the Brethren who gave money toward this new space. And some of you here may have actually provided one of those benches or another space. So now we're on the second floor, and there's this beautiful patio that just looks out across the campus. It's a great study space, hangout space for students. This is on the third floor with the beautiful windows. And again, it's a study space, hangout space. The center picture that you see there has tiered seating. So students can hold events there, they can watch movies there, poetry, readings, etc. Throughout the building, there are collaboration and study spaces for students, and these are just some of them. There is a dedicated space. We call it kind of a quiet room, yoga room. It's a space for small group spiritual practices. So Bible study, yoga, we've had meditation, etc. Many things for that room. And then we have a space that's fully dedicated to just prayer and meditation. This means the space can't be reserved for anything. Someone can go into this space at any time, pull out a prayer rug, a mat, sit on a bench, and just have quiet. And this is especially important for our Muslim students who are praying up to 5 times a day. So our Ludwick Center was dedicated about a year ago. And when we blessed it, it looked like this. The sun was just setting. And but leading up to that day, we had lots of festivities. We were celebrating this building as a place where great people will serve as our inspiration. So we had the pathways lined with great world leaders, as you can see here. We began the day with mariachi, musicians, and our indigenous community came and blessed the space. And then over lunch, we had Polynesian dancers who came there. So we wanted this space to be feeling the diversity that it represents. Our students had various activities. This was from the international office, helping people learn how to do the calligraphy. The back table is our interfaith group, and they were actually right this moment, I'm forgetting exactly what they did. Oh, yeah, some interfaith stuff.
We did interfaith buttons.
Thank you, interfaith buttons. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Shai. And then we had a beautiful dedication ceremony, various students representing the many offices, as well as just the true diversity that we have on our campus. And this I just threw in because I know that the Church of the Brethren can appreciate this. What started as a Church of the Brethren institution, we've become a very an incredibly thriving interfaith campus. And these were many of the people from our interfaith community locally who came to celebrate with us. That night, with the blessing, we blessed this space as a place for peacemakers, light givers, love keepers, justice seekers, harmony makers, and unity builders. So this is our Ludwick Center family. These are all the different staff people who work there. And just a couple more slides and then we'll turn this over to the students. So this is our Center for Multicultural Services. You can see staff, students. Every year they do an incredible diversity retreat. That's really important. So there's that office. And then our community engagement office that helps us stay connected with the wider community to take the values that we are learning about educationally and applying them out there in the world. And then our international services and engagement office. I just am going to mention on the left-hand side, this beautiful picture you're seeing. We had in the new sacred space, we had a Japanese tea ceremony. And it was so well attended, and we just had a really wonderful time that day. And then the office that I help facilitate, the Office of Religious and Spiritual Life. Up in the corner, you can see those are students from multiple offices, but some of them are our Interfaith Fellows, which is a program that runs out of my office. And then we also have the Institutional Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And on the right-hand side, you can see our Chief Diversity Officer. So I'm going to stop share here and we're going to move to the student panel. And just a second, getting myself situated. So we have a total of 4 questions that we're going to go through with the students, just so you can get a sense of their experience at La Verne, and specifically around the diversity that is honored through this building. So our first round with everyone, I'm just going to ask all of them to introduce themselves. And when you introduce yourself, as I had shared earlier, your name, your major, your year in school, so that all those regular things. And then also any clubs or offices that you're related to, and any leadership, anything around that. And then just, I think everyone would love to know kind of what your career or life aspiration, what's the big picture for you. And for this round, why don't we do this order? We'll start with Shai, go to Francisco, and then Jeff, and then Monica. So Shai, get us started.
Hello, my name is Shayanta Glothin, Shai for short. I am a 4th-year double major in theater and psychology, and I'm affiliated with Common Ground and Interfaith Fellows through the Office of Religious and Spiritual Life, as well as with the Multicultural Center and Office of Civic and Community Engagement. My career and life aspirations are to travel the world while becoming a well-known actress and starting my own practice for marriage and family counseling.
So hello everyone, my name is Francisco Villagomez. Currently I am a junior majoring in political science with a minor in economics. Currently I'm affiliated with the Office of Civic and Community Engagement, and I'm also a part of the CASI committee, which is short for the Committee on Cultural Awareness and Social Inclusion at the City of La Verne. I am one of the 3 interns, that's one of those affiliations that I have. Some of my career aspirations that I have with my major would be one day I truly would want to run for public office. And some life aspirations that I have would, 1, become a homeowner someday, hopefully. 2, have the fortune of being able to create a family. And 3, being able to travel the world.
Hi everyone, I'm so honored to be here. I'm Jeff, and my major is a Master of Science in Leadership Management, so I'm a graduate student. It's my last term in this program, and my concentration of the major is nonprofit management. And the clubs and the offices I'm affiliated with are International Students Club and Crew Bible Study. My life aspirations, for talking about my life aspirations, I think I'm very passionate with working in a nonprofit in the future. I mean, after graduation, I just like to have a chance to serve the Lord. Now my ultimate dream is to be a pastor, like a first pastor in my family. But before getting the clear calling from God, I just like to use my knowledges and skills I learned from the University of La Verne to serve the Lord in a nonprofit with a Christian background. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Monica Edevern and I'm a junior at the university doing a bachelor's plus credentials in elementary education. I'm the founder and president, because I'm the founder, of Catholics in Action, a Catholic club on campus. It used to be the Newman Club, so I'm sure you've heard that, but I just changed the name. And my career and life aspirations kind of tie together. I am a candidate with the Felician Sisters, so it's the first stage in becoming a nun with the Felician Order. And so that's kind of a career and life aspiration, along with I would like to work with children or somewhere in the classroom.
Great, thank you, thank you. I'm sure just alone your introductions, people have questions, but we're gonna dive into some other questions. So can each of you please share a time when you experienced community and support, particularly within the Ludwick Center or the offices associated with it? Again, please share about a time where you experienced community and support. And someone raise your hand for going first, and then I'll do the order. Shai will go first once again. So let's go from Shai to Jeff to Monica to Francisco.
I love going first. I have spent much time in the Ludwick Center. Some of my friends and I would go there for a quiet place to eat and hang out. I spent many meetings there with the fellows and Common Ground, as well as meeting with Zandra Wagner, Myrna Hugo, and Misty Levinston about personal matters, as well as club access and information. Every time I venture to the Ludwick Center, whether it be planned or not, I'm always with people that help put smiles on our faces, that are ready to get into action and help build something in a poetic sense. Everyone in the Ludwick Center is constantly working to help spread word across campus, and I love when anyone in that building asks me for help, because I am always willing to help when I am available, and they offer me that opportunity. Everything that takes place in the Ludwick Center is built on community and bonding, and it's comforting every time.
Thank you, Shai.
So I like to share my experience 5 months ago. I want to say thank you to all of those staff serving and monitoring international students. Because of their contributions, I feel the warmth of family being here. And, 5 months ago, many of my Chinese classmates were having a hard time with the immigration office's new policy on the legal status of overseas student. And I was no exception. In those uncertain times, those staff working in the Office of International Services, they have been carefully and patiently answering my questions and express their determination that they will do their best to help and support international students. So it means a lot to me. So I feel so grateful for it. Thank you.
Okay, now I'll go. So my favorite, as Andrew mentioned earlier in the PowerPoint and the pictures she showed, when we dedicated the Ludwick Center as a building, we had, or for us personally, we had a dedication mass with one of the bishops from LA, Bishop David O'Connell come, and it was that beautiful sunset. And we looked out over the seats were set up in that round sacred space so you could overlook the sunset as the mass was continuing on. And so at that time, I just felt that community of belonging. And I have a retreat coming up for my club. And so I just have hope for the future that we'll be able to get back into the building, and you always just feel the presence of everyone who has been there and will come when we're in that building.
So for me personally, the Center for Multicultural Services has always really been a center that has really truly always been there for me ever since the beginning of my college career. When we first transitioned over to the new building, the Ludwick Center, I've had multiple experiences, more specifically with the director, Dr. Loera of the center. And I have always felt a sense of belonging and community, especially being able to vocalize my feelings with him. And especially what the center represents for myself and for so many of the friends that I have made through that center. I have made, I feel, relationships that will last a lifetime. And I truly feel that if it weren't for that center existing, I probably would have never crossed paths with these individuals to the extent that I have today. So day in and day out, that center has always been a way for me to recenter myself whenever I have, been stumbling across throughout my life or whatever. But for me personally, that center has meant a great deal to me.
Thank you for that. I think in many ways, what everyone has just shared is a sense of belonging in some way that this space has opened up. And that sense of belonging may be very specific to a certain office's work or the space in general. But certainly when we were dreaming this building, one of the key things was how could this be a space for belonging? And so it's nice to hear you articulate that. I do see one question in the chat, and I'll definitely get to that after the last two questions. So students, can you think about an event that you've attended at the Ludwick Center? And what are the feelings during or following that event? Just give us a sense of your experience. And I wonder, maybe on this one, Monica, but if you go first, and then Francisco, Jeff, and Shai.
Yeah, I agree with you, what you said, Xandra, and what everyone's been saying, that sense of community and belonging. It's really felt the second you walk into the building. As for an event specifically that I felt today, I was at the dedication mass with Bishop O'Connell. We had a great turnout for our only Ash Wednesday mass before we got shut down. And you really just feel that community come together as a whole. But then also personally, I feel with the building and everything that's being able to be held in the building, I feel my two passions kind of coming together, which I love. I love school and I love this university, and I love serving others through my faith. And so I'm kind of able to bring both of those together and serve the greater good.
For me personally, I work in the Office of Civic and Community Engagement, and out of the Ludwick Center. Every year we produce this community engagement day, um, and thankfully, before everything happened with COVID-19 and really transitioning to remote learning and everything, we were fortunate enough to be able to hold a community engagement day. Um, and for me personally, community engagement and civic engagement is one of my core values, and something that I was brought up as a young boy with, in the sense that I love to participate in my community and give back to my community in any way, shape, or form. Um, and being able to be a part of really being able to put together an event such like that with alongside my coworkers and my supervisors and so forth, and see the community of the University of La Verne come together and really participate, um, and go to different locations all throughout La Verne and nearby communities, um, was really a moment that brought warmth to my heart, because um, there can always be something negative that can happen in one's life, but it's moments like those that, for me at least, restore faith in humanity, and to see the love and peace that's being spread around, um, and more than anything, the positivity. So for me, Community Engagement Day was probably one of my favorite moments that brought a lot of warmth to my heart.
About my unforgettable experience of the Ludwick Center, I'd like to share the last time I attended a Bible study at the Crew Club before the quarantine. Like that night, brother and sister share many wonderful testimonies in the yoga studio of the building, and many of us cried and smiled. It was a wonderful night. I missed the most during my 2 years. I am an only child, but I'm very grateful to God for letting me know so many brothers and sisters in the Lord through the Bible study. The fact that we can trust and support each other makes me so blessed. Thank you.
There was an event for the reopening of the Multicultural Center, and I met many people there, and we all had snacks and talked about campus experiences and what our goals are. And a few mentioned seeing Misty Livingston and I in the production of Facing Our Truths. That was a nice, welcoming event for me, and I was happy that I made it to the event and was able to be with everyone there. There were many gatherings that I spent there with small groups, whether it be Common Ground or Interfaith Fellows, or many others that were spent bonding and discussing future events. Another event that I enjoyed was led by Sofia Borbon, El Dia de la Virgen de Guadalupe, and I really enjoyed watching the Aztec dancers that I made to see there before I left for work that day. And that event really brought out the best in what it means to work together and support one another. And I appreciate being able to be at that event and witness the dancers show us how they dance.
Thank you all. So for the final question, I'm going to assume, I wish I had asked this question slightly differently, but here it goes. Has your engagement with spirituality, diversity, civic and community engagement, have these been significant parts of your education? And if so, help us understand in what way diversity and civic and community engagement and spirituality, or just one of those, how are they important to your education? Why do they matter for you, or one of them matter for you? And let's start, because Shai does love to go first. So we'll start with Shai, and then we'll go to Jeff and Francisco and Monica.
Being an African American first generation student, I have always grown and moved forward by creating a name for myself and connecting with multiple groups in order to be known as the person that I made myself to be, and not as some stigmatism or as that one Black girl. I assured my name would be known, and it is today and will be further on. I wear who I am on my sleeves. If you ask me, I will share with you, but I'm not one to force myself on, I'm not one to force myself or who I am onto others. I'm a progressive Christian, and in discovering that identity, I was led to the Common Ground and Interfaith Fellows, and I have gotten more in touch with my ancestors and what it means to be a true community. I would not have been able to truly find myself in the ways I have without engaging with these fields and by having these experiences, and I have been able to continue on a straight path of my education and reach my goals because of the diversity and community that I have gathered from the Interfaith Fellows, Common Ground, the Multicultural Center, and everyone else. And so I thank these groups for helping me find that journey.
Yes, this kind of engagement is a significant part of my education. So as I mentioned earlier, my major is Master of Science in Leadership Management. And I'm passionate with working in nonprofit in the future. Actually, I'm currently doing a volunteer job in nonprofit that helping disadvantaged children. Both my future career and my current study require compassion and loving kindness. And I believe I can obtain compassion and loving kindness through this kind of engagement. And besides, as a man who aspires to preach a gospel, I believe engagement with spirituality and diversity can let me obtain more knowledge about other cultures, like traditions or like other religions that I'm not a part of, and gave me a chance to be more knowledgeable, basically like a better God servant. Thank you.
So yeah, for me personally, engagement with diversity and civic and community engagement has really influenced my education. Like I had mentioned previously, more specifically, community engagement and civic engagement was something that I was brought up with as a young boy, and I found um, a great sense of pleasure with in helping people, helping my community, and helping shape a better future for tomorrow, for not only for myself but um, for those around me. Um, it influenced me in the way that it, you know, um, gravitated me to want to major in political science. It made me want to understand people. Um, it made me want to understand how, for example, government influences communities, and moreover, how I can make a meaningful impact for people and their communities, um, in my future career. Um, Diversity is another thing. I grew up in a very diverse community, and as well, present day at the University of La Verne, it's a very diverse community everywhere you turn to. So diversity has always been something that um, I have loved to be. I've enjoyed being immersed in all of this diversity because it's allowed me to understand different perspectives from many other individuals that aren't the same as I am. And I've been able to take that along with me in my studies, and what I aspire to do in my future. And it's something that I feel that has brought a positive it made a positive impact in my life. And I just want to be able to create that ripple effect for future generations.
All right. Well, for me, I'm not from California. I didn't grow up here. So when I did move here in high school, I saw the University of La Verne, and I just knew I had to go there. And it wasn't until I got to the university that I realized how important community and belonging was to me. And so while at the university, I've been able to just grow so much within all the offices that are given and provided for in the Ludwick Center. I feel that they've provided great practical opportunities for me to practice my love of serving and my love of giving and my love of people, along with my love of educating and learning, and kind of bring those two together that I can take skills with me into my future life as a Felician sister.
I really want to say a big thank you to the 4 students to share your educational journey with us, with a whole group of people who until tonight you did not know. And I really want to honor you. I want to honor your voice and your insight and wisdom that you've just shared with people. So thank you. So we have about 20 minutes to be able to have some Q&A or conversation. And I just want to first turn to the chat and make sure those are heard. First, I know Julie answered Norma's question about where did the name Ludwick come from. So yes, Art and Sarah Ludwick gave the key donation that actually made this building able to fully move forward. And I want to say that our donors who are part of our legacy and heritage, our Church of the Brethren and Friends donors, made up the difference in large part. So yes, the Ludwicks, because of their large gift. Okay, so, oh, Norma, students, you make my heart so happy. So wonderful to see. Question, how has COVID affected the activities in the center? So let's start with that one. Does anyone want to respond to that question? How has COVID affected activities?
I can, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Well, my club, Catholics in Action, is quite new. I started it in January, and then I kind of got it going in February, which is when the spring semester started. And a month into it, I had no members, and then we shut down. So COVID kind of impacted it negatively and positively. I had no members, and I couldn't get it into the traditional way, but through COVID, I have miraculously been able to grow so much. I found so many blessings I didn't think could come from it. And so although it affected and we can't meet in person and the building's just so lovely to be in, I still feel that community you can build in person in that building still being built through the people who serve in it.
Yeah, and I would say a lot of that engagement is happening in one of 2 spaces, either through social media, and our students are super gifted at knowing how to build community through Instagram in particular, but also other spaces. And then of course, our offices and students are using Zoom virtual rooms to be able to connect and do things together and still further their interests around community, their interests around diversity, their interest around interfaith. Yeah, I'm actually looking at Francisco about like the whole voter effort that came out of the Civic and Community Engagement Office through a virtual world.
Yeah, so usually before COVID, we would, we have this organization that was just last year was essentially its pilot year, but thankfully now it's essentially it's grounded. But we launched an organization called the Andrew Goodman Foundation. It's a chapter that exists at the University of La Verne, and its main intention is to engage with the student population and build a culture of voter engagement and registering to vote and participating in voting. And so thankfully, last year we were able really to create the foundation for it because we didn't know this was going to happen. And so I was there for essentially the first year. I ended up stepping away from it. So now, the individuals that are in that organization have taken on the throne. And it's under also the Office of Civic and Community Engagement. So through that platform, they've been able to use social media outlets such as Instagram and Facebook to engage with not only the student population, but even the community population that follows the Office of Civic and Community Engagement, and also the University of La Verne, with information as to like when the deadlines are to register to vote, when to vote, and even where you can vote. And the Andrew Goodman Foundation, the ambassadors that work there, have really stepped up to the plate to be able to engage with anyone that had any questions in regards to voting, and really be there for the community in a time where we can't be there in person, but we're there for each other virtually and in heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's just tons of examples of how we're building community, still doing our diversity work, still getting out in the community in these virtual ways. We'll go on to another question, but I just want to mention, just because both Jeff and Monica are here. So one of the innovations that happened is Jeff's Crew Bible Study and Monica's Catholics in Action. They ended up doing some joint programming on Instagram across, through this like diversity within Christianity. And that was really beautiful. And Shai is constantly posting very beautiful, inspirational ideas and thoughts from the Interfaith Club Common Ground. So we're just doing it. So very quickly, let's see, how many different faiths are served through the center? So I can't give you an exact number, but when we do any kind of education, we're looking at 20 some odd different faiths that students are associating with. So we serve every single one of those faith traditions, including students who also have more philosophical backgrounds, more like maybe spiritual but not religious, or atheist. Like, it's the whole gamut. And we do what we can to try to help them connect when it makes sense. Shai, do you want to talk about what an interfaith fellow is? Because Judy is wondering.
I can. So for interfaith fellows, it's kind of different for each of us who are an interfaith fellow, but it all comes down to the same thing, which is uniting all the faiths and coming to a common place. And so as interfaith fellows, we try to spread word about religion, about how it's not all about converting, it's not all about separate religions, that we can have common goals and we can come together to create a better world, a better place. And so interfaith is basically, as interfaith fellows, we basically spread across campus, advice, background, information on different religions, and let the campus know that we are here to serve, we are here to help, we are here to provide, we are here to answer your questions if you have any questions regarding any type of religion. And so that's what it is to be an interfaith fellow.
And it's so, for example, this year there are 6 fellows, and we invest in them and their leadership and make sure they have really great access to education around what is interfaith work, so that then they can spread it to their peers. And Shai has been doing this for 2 years. Judy has another question, and I think this is going to go back to Francisco. So what really happens on Community Engagement Day, and maybe briefly give a few details. And Francisco, maybe start with what it usually is, but then what it was this year.
Yeah, so Community Engagement Day, it usually consists of so right from my understanding, we have this it's originally created for all the flex students that we so the flex students would be considered the incoming freshmen that are entering the University of La Verne. And so part of, I guess, the initial phase of them transitioning to the university is kind of getting them multiple things connected with their peers that they're going to be engaging with throughout the year, um, engaging with faculty, because some faculty also participate in Community Engagement Day. And also, third, most importantly, is engaging with the community, the surrounding community, and the organizations around it. So initially, it was just intended for flex students, but this year we actually opened it up more so to really everyone at the University of La Verne to participate. Obviously, also including the flex students. And so, what it usually consists of is we throughout the year. It's a really a long process. If I had my supervisor here, she could go on for days. But it's a long process in the sense that we reach out to so many organizations to really create that relationship that we're interested in wanting to find an activity that is both meaningful and can serve a purpose for the organization, um, and send students based on their flex group and their groups in general to go and provide a service for that organization, and in a sense also have a sense of reflection from that experience. And so we have so many organizations. I could probably even pull up the list. I have it right here. um, that there's so many organizations that we participate with, both in the city of La Verne and the nearby cities around us, including like Pomona. um, and yeah, we send so many students out there, and it's a pretty long day. We get started at probably roughly around, well, I probably would get there like 5:30 in the morning, and we'd probably leave at 5 p.m. So it's a really like a long day full of activities for all the students. Um, so yeah, that's just a little bit about our community engagement day.
Thank you. Thank you. So uh, Linda Williams has a great question. So she's recognizing these, really fantastic relationships of community building through the offices, the building, the students. So how has this helped with challenging conversations surrounding the recent elections? What do you think, students? How has your education around diversity, spirituality, interfaith, civic or community engagement, how have any of these things helped you around the election?
Well, I know we like through like the student email, they sent out a lot of events that were taking place in order for students to come together and have a safe space to talk about everything that was going on with the elections. And I know Xandra was a part of one of those, and she had me join and talk about community. And so that night there were several students who talked about community and what it meant to us in order to get through this election time, and let everyone know like community isn't all the bad, there is good to it as well. And so we had that talk, and there were several other conversations as well regarding the election.
Anybody else want to respond to that?
I guess I could probably hop in a little bit. I think personally for myself, um, being able to do all of these different things with like participating in the community throughout the years at being a student at the University of La Verne, um, like I mentioned earlier today, has given me a sense of like understanding multiple perspectives of many individuals, and how they can arise to certain conclusions, and more specifically to like conclusions regarding politics, or in this sense the election. um, and I feel the sense that having the fortune to have participated in all these like activities, participating and helping in community events, or more specifically, this organization that I'm participating in right now, that I mentioned, which is CASI, which is the Committee on Cultural Awareness and Social Inclusion. We're not just for this election, but actively trying to push forward that conversation of what diversity is, and feeling a sense of equality and inclusion and inclusivity. But I feel like through all these outlets, such as like this committee, and both on-campus events and in community engagement day, all these things have allowed me to have many different perspectives, and understanding why people come to certain conclusions, and not just simply to understand why they came to those conclusions and just leave it at that, but how can we like connect or create a bridge, to further move on and not always be divided or in such a polarizing time.
Thank you. So let's see. Yeah, thank you, Jeff, for putting your response in the chat. So I thought that maybe as we're kind of wrapping up here, I want to say the offices and the building and the students who we serve, we are really, we have in our mind, build community, be smart around diversity. And so we look at this from multiple directions. So we're working really hard at our own personal diversity work that we need to do and help students engage in that question. And we provide opportunities for us to reflect on connection and community and the things that bring us together and bridge build as opposed to what divides us. So all of these things are part of the big picture as students are developing their own sense of meaning, purpose, identity, and where they're headed in life. One thing that the Ludwick Center is doing right now, so this is just a real-time thing, post-election, once a week, we're holding a half-hour Zoom meeting for anyone who wants to just contemplate the idea of hope in a crazy time. So we had students reflect on hope. We had some of the staff reflect on hope, and it was fantastic. So, and again, it builds community. It helps us reflect on a concept that I think all of us need and thrive on. All right, so I'm gonna just throw this out to the 4 students. Is there any final thing that you wanna be able to communicate to this group of people about what's important to you about either the Ludwick Center or what you've learned there? Anything, any final thought?
Can I go first?
Yes, please.
Yeah, it reminds me of the prayer meeting I attended last week. Although we were apart because of the COVID and quarantine, we still trust each other, and we share our testimonies, and we just help each other to pray. And my Bible study is really like a club, values diversity. For example, like the sister who leads the Bible study told me, "Hey Jeff, if you are not comfortable with praying in English, you can pray in Chinese." I told her, "Oh, thank you for that, but I can pray in English." And we trust each other, so we talk about something that we feel really like frustrated and not so comfortable with, like some tension, not not just from the academic life, but also from the relationship. We pray and we just feel like God can help us, and God has His plan at His time. So that's a really, it's a really a blessing to us. We feel that we are not lonely. We have God, and we have a brother and sister in the Lord. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We just truly have a minute left, so 20 seconds for anything you want to say here at the end, students.
I just wanted to say that for me, like the Ludwick Center is not just the center itself, but the people who dwell there. And I'm thankful for everyone who goes there.
I'm gonna jump in because no one's really tooted Zandra's horn, and so I'm gonna be the toot for Zandra. Well, you look around this Zoom, and we're not very diverse, and so Zandra, as the interfaith chaplain in a very diverse campus, has to really be humble. You know, we brethren say we're good at that, but it is hard to humble ourselves, because I found this with Francisco, and I sit on a committee together, and how Francisco hears the world is different than how I hear the world. I hear the world like a middle-aged white woman. And so Francis, I say, what do you hear? What did you hear? And he says all this stuff. I said, man, I didn't hear that. and I have to listen. So Zandra really listens to students on campus and has done her work, a lot of work to really bring forth equity and diversity and her own sense of following. She follows her students. So I'm tooting her horn, toot toot.
Thank you. It's really wonderful to be with you all, and I'm just so delighted that the 4 students are here. And thank you so much. I'm giving each of you for just a lot of love right now. So Russ, I'll turn this back over to you.
I want to just extend my thanks to the 4 students as well on behalf of the Church of the Brethren in California, Arizona, and Nevada. Thanks for giving an hour of your evening to share with us about the many things that you're doing, and Zandra for pulling this together and for the work that you do. The district does help support the Office of Campus Ministry as part of our budget each year. It's not a huge amount, but we're glad to be able to be a part and have a part in supporting the work that goes on through the Ludwick Center and other places. So my thanks to you all for joining us this evening. And some of you have other insight sessions to be at shortly. So nice to have you all with us tonight. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, students.